Hello everybody, thank you for tuning into our Facebook Live video today. So we're filming from Birmingham. If you've not met me before, I'm Samantha Hope and I'm the Graduate Recruitment Manager here at the firm. And this is Kashmir and she's joining me today, and we're going to be covering quite a few topics. So we're going to be talking a little bit about Birmingham as a city, what it's like to work here in a professional environment. We're going to touch on diversity, and we're also going to talk about assessment centres, because Kashmir, you've assessed before at our assessment centres. Hopefully you will again this year. So we want to know your insights into what makes a successful candidate. So before we get going, we'd like to know where you are watching us from today. So just type in your city into the comments. And like I said, we're in our Birmingham office. So Kashmir, do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, what brought you to Shoosmiths today?
So my name is Kashmir Uppal. I'm a partner in the Clinical Negligence department. So I deal with cases where patients have suffered injury as a result of a doctor's negligence. I have been a clinical lawyer for about 20 years, and prior to starting at Shoosmiths about 3 years ago, I worked at another national law firm. And when I was deciding to move on from there, looking around for other law firms, I was attracted to Shoosmiths because of the way that Shoosmiths allow you to work in your own way, to make your own mark, for you to, if you see things that you think could be improved on, they listen to your ideas, they welcome new ideas. So that's that refreshing way of practice, not just the old traditional way. That's what we've always done, it's always worked. Looking at new and innovative ways to work, and that's what attracted me.
Yeah, lovely. So what was your kind of education background? What made you want to go into the law?
I didn't do particularly well in my O-levels or A-levels, that tells you how old I am. But I managed to get to De Montfort University, and I studied, obviously, law, and that was the first time in my life where I had an environment where I could actually study. And I found I really, really enjoyed it, and I did quite well at it. So I came out with a 2-1. Then I went to the Lancaster Gate College of Law and did my articles at a law firm in Derby. Things at that time in my life changed slightly, so I sort of lost focus while I was doing my training contract, and they didn't keep me on. And then I really struggled to get a job as a newly qualified solicitor, and had to go and work for a legal expenses insurer. And it was whilst I was working there that I realised that I really wanted to go back into a law firm, and that's when I developed my focus. I managed to get a job then at Osborne Clark Solicitors in Bristol, and that's when I started my Clin Neg journey.
Okay, so you were commuting to Bristol?
I was commuting because if you really want something, there are sacrifices that you have to make, and I really, really wanted to be a Clin Neg lawyer, and the only opportunity that arose for me at the time was at a firm in Bristol, and I was prepared to travel, put in the time and the effort, because it's hard, but if you really want it, you'll do it, and you will reap the rewards at a later stage.
I also studied at De Montfort. Yeah, law. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Okay, so thanks for telling us a little bit about your background and how you came to be here. So tell me a little bit about Birmingham now, and why Birmingham? Why are you working in this city? What do you think this city has to offer?
Birmingham's the second largest city in the UK. It's a very vibrant, cosmopolitan. We've got lots of major law firms here. We work well with the Birmingham Law Society. It's a beautiful city. We've got the world's largest Primark, which opened in Birmingham today. So that's one good reason to come and work in Birmingham.
I've heard that it's got a Disney cafe.
It's got loads of cafes and everything you could imagine. I'm far too old to go there, but it sounds like a fantastic place.
So you touched on the kind of junior lawyers, divisions and groups like that. So there's quite a lot of professional networks that young professionals can get involved in. That's a great start to their career. Do you think that is something that students can be looking at now?
Absolutely. I think there has to be a degree of realism about getting into the law and getting a training contract or a paralegal job. You have to show that you are networking with the right individuals, you're making the right contacts. Often it is about making yourself aware to people that they know about you, they know what your skills are, what your people skills are, what your communication skills are. And an easy way of achieving that is by getting involved in these networking and support groups.
Okay, perfect. Birmingham feels like my second home. I spend so much time in this office, but it is a really nice office, nice city, and nice shops. So tell me something about Birmingham that you like. So do you have a favourite restaurant?
Well, I've got 3 children, so I have to eat where they want to eat.
Yeah.
And they like Henry Wong's, which is a Chinese restaurant in Harbour. But there's lots of really good restaurants, and we've got Brindley Place, where there's lots of restaurants around by the canal. So it's a very, very pretty city, I think, now. We've had lots of development work, so I love being in Birmingham.
Yeah. So you work in clinical negligence, you're a clinical negligence lawyer, so can you explain a little bit more about what that is?
So basically, if you go into hospital, you see a GP or any medical professional and they make a mistake in relation to your treatment and you suffer an injury or another adverse outcome where your prognosis is worse than it would otherwise have been, for example, delaying diagnosis of cancer, then what I do is pursue claims for compensation to try and compensate you for the financial losses that you're going to sustain. Deal with all kinds of different cases where there's been babies with brain damaged at birth and they need care, they need adapted accommodation, people who suffer amputations, and the consequences for them on a day-to-day basis is they can't go out to work. They can't pay their bills, they can't pay the mortgage, they're at risk of losing their house. It's really real for them. And what I do is secure them that financial compensation to give them that reassurance that they can pay their mortgage, that they can have some quality of life. They've got this terrible physical injury, but at least they haven't got the worry about how they're going to survive for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, so it's a very personal area of law, really, to
Absolutely.
be dealing with people. How do you not, you must come across some very emotional cases. How do you not take that home with you? How do you stay on top of all of your work?
You do build personal relationships with your clients and they do become your friends almost. I mean, I had a case for a brain damaged baby and she's a little girl now and her mother and I are friends now. We settle a case in December and I go over and see them. So it's inevitable that they do become very close to you, but that's important because that makes you strive to do your best for them, and if you know that you have done your best in your work during that day, you can then go home and think, I've done my best to help that family, and you can sleep easy at night because you think, well, I'm trying to make their life better, and I think that's how you then can have a difference between your home and work life.
Yeah. Definitely an area of law where you can really make a difference to people's lives, in their personal lives. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit more about private client as a division and how that fits into the wider Shoosmiths, because some of our viewers might not know that actually, as well as commercial, corporate, real estate, and those core areas of the business that we also have a huge private client team. So could you just give us a bit more information about that as a whole and how that fits in?
Right, so the private client team is actually a quarter of the departments at Shoosmiths, and it's a variety of departments. We have a family law team with lawyers who work on multi-million-pound claims for very high net worth individuals, and they also deal with very complicated child issue cases. We've got a wealth protection team where they deal with trust and tax estates, and we've got a corporate protection team, we've got a personal injury team, we've got a disputed wills and trust team. So all across the board we deal with the needs of individuals. So whilst we have corporate and commercial clients, they're also individuals and they have individual needs we seek to service.
Yeah, okay. And we're just we're just re-looking at the firm-wide strategy at the moment. So every 3 years we have a look at that strategy. We've just seen Simon Boss come in and take on the firm as CEO. So feels all very fresh and invigorated at the moment, which is great. What's the strategy for private client and for clinical negligence?
So it's a very exciting time because we've got this new strategy across the firm. For clinical negligence, our strategy is to build on the excellent service that we provide to our clients. And it's about their rehabilitation journey. It's about ensuring that we have the contacts with the most up-to-date prosthetics companies, so that if somebody has an amputation, we can point them in the right direction to make sure that they get the bion foot or whatever other prosthetic need they need. We've got a case where one of our clients suffered a bilateral amputation of his arms, and we put him in touch with companies in America that can give him those prosthetic arms. So it's about the quality of the relationships we've got with other external providers, which makes sure that the service that we provide to our clients is then the best service that they could possibly achieve.
Yeah, fantastic. So I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about diversity, because it's something that law firms talk about a lot. It's something, well, a lot of firms talk about, a lot of businesses, and they say we do diversity and we're doing this for we're a really diverse firm. And I think for viewers, they think, well, everybody's saying the same thing. So I wanted to hear from you, what exactly does that drill down to at Shoosmiths? What are the things that we are doing on a day-to-day basis that does make us a little bit different?
I think the fact that I'm sitting here as a partner at Shoosmiths, I'm an Asian female, shows how diverse the firm are, and I think we came in the top certain percentage for law firms with female partners, so we're very diverse in that respect. But we recognise every element of diversity, disability, LGBT. We celebrate these events, we recognise these events, we have events throughout the office to raise awareness. We live in a very multicultural society with all kinds of individuals with all kinds of needs, and we're in Birmingham, and we recognise that the population that we serve, our firm should be reflective of that, and we do very much do that.
Yeah. So we had an event a couple of weeks ago through our partnership with Aspiring Solicitors, and you kindly came and spoke at that event to the delegates. And that's just one of the partnerships that we have as a firm, where we're trying to actively promote and raise awareness, different diversity issues. We've also got a dedicated diversity and inclusion team as well, and I know that at the moment we've had a gender working party, and at the moment now that's changing to become an inclusion working party, so that it's more inclusive of a number of different things and not just gender. So there's lots of things that are happening like on a practical level. Okay, so I had a couple more questions. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, so I wanted to know about a big case that you've worked on, something that you, I think, would say has shaped your career.
Absolutely, and I feel very privileged to have had the opportunity. So I dealt with the claims against Mr. Ian Paterson, who was a consultant breast surgeon in Birmingham. And what Mr. Paterson was doing was performing a procedure called a cleavage-sparing mastectomy on women who had breast cancer, which meant that half of the toxic breast tissue was being left, which resulted in a recurrence of the breast cancer. And he was also carrying out unnecessary operations, and women suffered physically and psychologically. The case was fascinating because it had so many elements to it. There was the civil claims. He was charged with 17 counts of wounding by intent and 3 of unlawful wounding, sentenced to 20 years behind bars, and there was also regulatory. He was struck off by the GMC. I count myself lucky to have been given the opportunity to deal with that case, but also I took that opportunity because when I had my first case, I realised that this was a wider story, and I had to develop a plan on how to develop the cases and also put the case out to the media so that other women who had been affected came forward. We were very successful in that, and the hard work that I did and the recognition I got for that resulted in my being awarded Partner of the Year at the Birmingham Law Society Awards, and also Clinical Negligence Lawyer of the Year at the National PI Awards.
I think it's a really sad case, but really interesting, and there's a lot of different elements to it, like you said. So if somebody's thinking, okay, private client actually sounds like something I'm interested in, particularly clinical negligence, where could they read more about this case and find out a bit more in depth?
So if you go onto the website, it's actually under the Access Legal Solicitors brand, and if you could Google my name, there's a case study on there with one of our clients who was one of Mr. Paterson's victims, and she tells her story. And the information is all on the website, and it, you can read all about it there.
Yeah, so the Shoosmiths website, or you can just Google Kashmir's name and it will come up that way.
Absolutely.
You're also on Twitter, aren't you?
Yes,
so people
on
could
Twitter.
follow you on Twitter. What's your
It's Kashmir Uppal 3.
Okay, cool. I'll share that out and the links for those bits that we've talked about, so you can find them in the comments to this video afterwards. So moving on to assessment centres then. So you've been an assessor. So really, what I want to know is, what have you seen that's really impressed you at an assessment centre?
I think the quality of applicants, they're absolutely amazing, and they all come very well prepared. They're very committed. They're commercially aware. They appreciate what's been asked of them. The ones that impress me have the ones that have sort of thought about the subject matter that they're interested in, but in a wider context. Often we see applications where people say, I'm very passionate about this, but you've got to evidence that passion. For example, if you say I'm passionate about Clinical Neg, I'd like to see that perhaps you've gone and done some volunteering in a local hospital or a hospice where you've seen the types of issues that arise with hospital environments, or you've worked for a charity such as meningitis or sepsis, so that you're aware of the issues that arise. So make sure your words are evidenced by your actions in terms of being passionate about something.
And when you're an assessor on the assessment centres, you're assessing a wide range of candidates, not necessarily for the Birmingham office, but that is usually the focus.
Yes,
normally
right.
We have partners assessing candidates for their own office. Have you seen anything on assessment centres that you thought, just somebody's really let themselves down, and something silly that they didn't need to do?
I think obviously people get very nervous, and we try and make them as relaxed as possible, but if you're asked a question, make sure your answer is related to the legal world, because you're coming into a law firm, and the reason why we're asking you a question is how you will deal with that in a potential legal environment. So if you relate it to something that's happened to you personally, you need to make sure there is a link, though, in terms of the commercial reality of the workplace.
Okay, yeah. So sometimes on our assessment centres, we've talked a lot about perhaps thinking about our clients' marketing strategies, or how we might help in a commercial way like that. And sometimes we've seen candidates get a bit caught up in, say, perhaps the marketing thing, but not thinking or linking it back to the legal advice.
Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, we are a business, and as a business, we're seeking to do a job for our client, but also to be paid for that job. So when there is, for example, an exercise in relation to choosing a client for a tender, look to the client who's going to produce the most income for the firm in terms of various different areas of work. So I think have that commercial reality about the workplace. You may really like a particular area of law, but you've got to think, is that commercially viable as well? So there is a degree of pragmatism that you have to apply.
Mm. And you've had paralegals and trainees, junior solicitors in your teams. On a day-to-day basis, what are they doing? So what would a junior solicitor in clinical negligence do?
So it's very hands-on, and it's very much client-faced. So they would meet new clients, they take instructions, they draft witness statements, they would review medical records, draft schedules of loss. It's a very, very busy, fast-moving environment because it's litigation that we deal with. So there's court orders that we have to comply with. It's also, again, when you're a junior lawyer, you are learning the tactics of being a lawyer, because often in litigation, it's trying to work out what the other side are thinking and not let them know exactly what you're thinking, and then having your strategy and your tactics to achieve the best result for your last time it worked, but in this particular case, I think I need to just vary it slightly like this. So so they're learning from a strategy, tactical way of dealing with litigation, but they'd also have to have good communication skills, because we're dealing with people who are vulnerable, who have been let down by the medical professionals, and it's really important that they can put their trust in us, and that we show them that We will fight their corner. We believe what they're saying, and we will ensure that their life gets better.
Yeah. So I just want to say, if anybody wants to ask myself or Kashmir a question, you can type it into the comments now, and I will come to those in just a second. I've noticed that we've got some people watching from Birmingham, Biggleswade, Reading, Nottingham, Leeds and Swindon. So that's fantastic. It's great to have so many people tuned in watching us today. So if you have got a question, just pop it into the comments now, and we will answer that for you. So is there anything else that you would want to add, or you want to give as advice to our viewers?
I think I'd say, if you really want to be a lawyer, you have to be ready for the fight, because it's tough. But if you really want it, you're not going to let go of it. I realised early on that I'd messed up my training contract, but I wasn't going to let that stop me, because I wanted it so much. So don't let your past define you, and don't think you're not lucky, because luck isn't something that happens. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Always be prepared, and there will be opportunities, and you then take them and run with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was talking to a group this morning, and I said that to ask themselves the question, are they 100% sure that they are doing everything they can to succeed? And many sort of shook their heads and said no, they weren't, and they had more things that they wanted to go away and do. So take the time to sit down and write a list of the things that you need to do, and then you will do them. Be prepared.
Absolutely, yeah.
Get those opportunities. So if anybody's got any questions, do type them in to the comments, and we will answer them. Do you have any questions for me?
You must meet lots of candidates. What do you look for when you're looking at their applications or meeting with them?
Yeah, so very first, when I'm meeting people in person at networking events or our insight evenings, I really love just having normal conversations with people. It's great to talk about their interest in law, and I really enjoy that too, but it's when a conversation just flows in a really natural way. That's what I love. And I think that just makes the person seem very at ease. It means that they're relaxed, and then their natural personality can come through. And I think that's the best way to be on an assessment centre, because then the person's personality and skills just shine, because they've kind of relaxed, and that all comes from preparation.
Absolutely. If you're fully prepared, then you don't need to worry. The other thing I'd say about assessment centre is, don't speak just for the sake of having your voice heard, because that will be so obvious to us. So, but make sure you do say the right things and make a contribution.
Yeah. Be
Be brave enough to, even if you feel overwhelmed, but be brave enough to put your thoughts through, because as a law firm, we want people who've got different ways of thinking. We want disruptors, because this is an ever-changing environment, politically, economically, and it's important that we have a wide range of people with all kinds of different views. And you may come up with an idea that we've never thought of and thought, do you know what, that's absolutely brilliant. But because we've been doing it the same way for so many years, we just carry on thinking that's the best way to do it. So be brave enough to have those ideas and be a disruptor.
Yeah. I think a lot of what I talk about is, well, we talk about go out there, join these groups, get to know people, do some extracurricular activities, go to this networking event, and it seems like it can be a tick box exercise, like tick, 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 okay, I've done these, where's my training contract? And it's not how it works. You have to apply those things back into your life as personal and professional development, and then once you come to assessment centre or at the early stages on an application, you need to then again apply those things in terms of selling yourself. So absolutely go and do all those things that we talk about. Go and read the blogs and soak up the information, watch these videos, but then actually go away and use that advice and learn from it, and that's the way that you'll develop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we haven't had any questions come through, but I just wanted to say a massive thank you for coming on with us today. I think you've shared some really useful information, and we've covered so much as well. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask Kashmir, I will share her Twitter handle into the comments below the video. And of course, as always, you can always get in touch with us by contacting us on joinus@shoosmiths.co.uk. Now, I did mention earlier that we have a special announcement today as well, and you heard it here first, but the trainee solicitor program at Shoosmiths is expanding. So really, really positive news. We're really excited because we're going from a training contract with around 20 recruits per year to 30 a year. And that's across most of our offices. So in line with that, we're also going to be taking trainees into our London office as well, which we haven't done previously. So small numbers at first, but obviously the strategy behind that is for growth across all of our offices and departments. So if you didn't know, we of course do take trainees into private client as well. And so if you'd like a bit of a mixed training contract where you get a little bit of commercial, corporate and a bit of private client, then we perhaps might be the right firm for you. Now we will be posting more information about the programme expansion later on today. So keep an eye out and we will get that information out to you. But thank you so much for watching and we'll see you next time.